Ow.
Alright guys, today's video, I figured I would do another thing similar to last week. Kind of options in case you have something that isn't working with you. And today we're going to talk about some solutions that you may be able to use if your oil filter is stuck. And this goes for canister style filters like this, not cartridge. Cartridges are a completely different animal. Usually if those are stuck, whatever the cartridge filter connects into, usually like I guess kind of like an oil cooler, is probably shot and you're going to have to replace the whole thing. But for this, cartridge filters, first and foremost, what is the reason that these things would even get stuck? You need to understand this. And the reason is you're putting your oil filter on too goddamn tight, okay? You don't need to really, when it comes to oil filters, you don't need to take it and twist it on and hulk out and put it on as tight as you possibly can, or use a tool to kind of get it stuck. If you are a reasonably strong, average, masculine type man, not like, you know, California ultra feminist dudes or something, whatever, I don't know.
It's a hell of a thing, losing a bet. Go California.
Your grip strength, twisting it on, assuming that you can get into the correct position to do it, should be enough for your oil filter. That's it. When you go and put an oil filter on too tightly, what's going on is you're compressing this gasket, which first of all, when you put the oil filter on, you got to lube up the gasket with some oil so it slides without tearing. But you can see the thickness of that gasket. What you're doing when you're putting it on too tight is that you're getting it and compressing it down way too tight. Like taking about half the thickness out of it. And where these threads are threading onto the oil filter mount, or whatever you want to call it, the pickup, when those thread in there, you have expansion and contraction of the threads, okay? And this metal is different than the metal of where you screw this on here. So the engine is going to be hotter than the oil right away, so that's going to expand those threads differently than at the rate that these are expanding. So when you have threads that are hooked in together like this, and I've already talked about this if you watched the cruise video about dissimilar metals, but as one expands, it's opening up like this with threads that aren't moving, so when it cools down, it's locking itself in more, and it keeps going through these heat cycles. It keeps locking down, locking down, locking down, locking down. So what that happens after a while is that this gets so locked into those threads that you can't back it off, because you over tightened it from the beginning. Now, even if you don't over tighten it from the beginning, just hand strength, you probably may have to use tools to get it off, and that's okay. So we're going to talk about what we need to do to get those off, going from maybe the easiest to kind of last-ditch efforts. Now, it should be said, these are all just ideas you can use. The way your oil filter attaches in your car could be completely different. It could be like, you know, this engine here, or the engine in a white car, standard American V8s, where it just kind of screws up vertically, perpendicular to the ground, to the bottom of the engine. Some of them are at 45s like this at the front. Some of them, you know, Italian cars, they like to mount the oil filter on top, easy to get to, but they mount it upside down, so you know when you pop it up, it just pisses oil all over the place. So anyways, to get these off if they are stuck, first and foremost, obviously you can't get your hand in there to get it to slip off, usually because cars are running, they collect grease and dirt and stuff all over it, and it's just hard to get a good grip, okay? Some oil filters come with this grip texture on here. Does it work? No, I mean, maybe not. First option you have for this is that if you look at the shape here, I don't know how many sides it is, but if you look around it, that little shape, it's almost like kind of like a bolt head of however many sides. They do make kind of these metal sleeve sockets that go over this that connect to a ratchet. Put a picture of it there. In my experience, those don't work worth a shit. They usually just slip right off, and I mean, it serves no purpose. You can try it out if you want. I don't recommend it. Okay. Secondly, if you have, depending on how it's positioned, they do make various types of oil filter wrenches, right? Okay, here's like channel lock style, to where you can get in there, squeeze it down, has 3 points to grab, loosen it up, break it free, then you spin it off with your hand. They have other styles of kind of like a ring of metal that goes around, and when you pull the handle, it tightens up and spins it around. I have one of those here, but I can't find it to show you, so I'll just put a picture there. Then they also have ones that are kind of like a belt style that wraps around into a handle, and then you kind of take and use the handle to break it free, and it pulls friction on that. Those are also good. I'll put a picture of that there. I don't have one of those on hand, but that comes down to, do you have the room and where is it located as to which one of these options you may want to use. Okay. Maybe you can't get an oil filter wrench like that into where a location is, but you have a pair of channel locks that are big enough. I have had success in the past of going and being able to grab, these ones aren't big enough for this filter, but underneath the bottom side, squeezing and rotating it to break it free. That's another option if you have this correct size and where it is located. Like I said, everything's specific to your vehicle. Now this one here, you may not know about, or you may, if you have, let's say, an old belt.
Oh, kinky.
Or, yeah, well, for this option would be an old belt. And you can get to your oil filter, and let's say it's mounted like 180 degrees. You can take your belt, loop it through itself, okay? Slide it around the oil filter like this. And you can take it and use the force that you can generate by pulling on the belt to lock it down in and twist it and try and pull at 90 degrees to where it is stuck, and pull it and break it free, and it'll slide out. What that is doing is giving you grip strength on what you can't grip normally with your hands because it's oilier or too slippery or something like that. So that's the option with the belt. Second option with the belt is if it's an old one and you don't have the ring or something like that. Or you can do this if you say like save an old serpentine belt. You wouldn't want to try to do it with a V-belt, it's too flat. An old serpentine belt, or maybe like you have a leather carry strap from like old piece of luggage or a purse or something like that. You can also put it around the filter like this to get a grab. And all depends on where your location is. Take a pair of vice grips, all right? Open it up, put it on the belt, clamp the belt down, and then depending on how hard you tighten this, what you may need to do, if you get enough grip, you can pull it that way. If not, you can always take and roll, put the vice grips a little bit farther out, like this, clamp it down, take it, roll the vice grip on itself, and then twist like that, and it will hopefully help you break that filter free. This is all dependent on where it is stuck. The final option, and a lot of people will say just go ahead and do this one. Again, it comes down to where it's sitting, because it could be right up against the oil pan. You do this incorrectly, you go straight into your oil pan. You can also take like a screwdriver, drive it through the oil filter itself, so then you can take and try and pull on that to get it to twist. Caveats with that one: the stem on where it is twisted in there can be who knows how long. This is only about a little over a 1/4 inch deep of how many threads are in here, about 3 threads total. That stem can be, you know, 3/4 of an inch or something, because if you've ever paid attention how you twist these on, it takes forever to twist them on. So if you're going to do something like that, make sure you're not going up here, because you don't want to hit the filter mount to where then that's damaged. Then you're going to have to change that out. Go at least halfway down or below, somewhere around this area, to try and drive it through to twist it out. There's a chance of you doing that too, that you put it through there and it just kind of rips along the oil filter and doesn't actually loosen it up, and then you just got like a jagged mess to try and get that out. But yeah, so those are some options for you to try and get an oil filter out. But remember, first and foremost, don't put it on so damn tight. As long as it's, you get it kind of what is finger snug, well, I wouldn't say finger snug, you snug it down to where it's not really twisted, and then put maybe like another 1/4 turn to a 1/2 turn. Usually that is going to be more than enough to keep the oil filter on from backing itself off and leaking everywhere. Alright guys, those are some options that I have in my head and that I have used that may be able to help you out if your oil filter is stuck. Canister oil filter, okay? If you guys can think of anything else, any other tips or tricks that you guys learned along the way to share in the comments with other people that may be looking and to try and get out of a sticky situation, feel free to put them there and let them know. Alright guys, that's all I got for you today. So like, comment, subscribe, all that nonsense, and thanks for watching.